the honourable member for Prince Albert.
Well, thank you, Speaker. It's great to be here today and this afternoon. It's been a busy afternoon in the House of Commons, so it's nice to get on with the debate and doing the country's business. I just want to inform you that I will be sharing my time with the member from Nanaimo, Alberni, and of course the people of BC are just as excited about this budget as the people from Saskatchewan, because there's so many things in it that are good for our constituents and for Canadians right across Canada. You know, the country of Canada has been doing very, very strong and very, very well and throughout this global crisis. You know, if you look at what's going on in Canada, the World Economic Forum ranked Canada as the safest banking system in the world. You know, we've got a really good, solid banking system, so constituents can take comfort in knowing that their deposits are safe and secure. The other thing to point out that we've got our AAA credit rating. Canada's got the best credit rating in the world, so you can tell that Canada's been doing very well in light of the financial crisis that's been going on around us. And of course, one of the other things we should talk about is the creation of jobs. Well, you got other countries losing jobs, you got countries with massive unemployment. Here in Canada, we're actually creating new jobs. 950,000 net new jobs since the start of the 2008 global crisis. That's amazing. If you look at what's going on, like I said, around the rest of the world. In Saskatchewan, when you look at the job situation, it's actually a very unique situation. Our unemployment rate in Saskatchewan is sitting right at 3.7%. When you think about that, 3.7%, that's basically telling me anybody who wants a job in Saskatchewan has a job. But you know what? When I go back in my riding, Mr. Speaker, and talk to my business owners and talk to them about what they require in order to see more expansion and growth, it's something that's very common, and the common theme is the lack of employees. They're looking for ways to get new employees, but not only that, skilled employees. They need specific skills. They need plumbers, electricians. They need people with their journeyman status. But when you look at Canada's Economic Action Plan for 2013, we're addressing those needs, Mr. Speaker. If you look at the first action we did is we bring in the Canada Job Grant. This program does is it allows a maxing benefit up to $5,000. So the federal government will put in $5,000, the business will put in $5,000, the provincial governments will put in $5,000 for skills training. When you talk to people like some of our ag machinery dealerships that we have in the riding, that's one of the things you'll listen to them when you talk to them is they need more heavy-duty mechanics. A program like this they can embrace and take advantage of and actually take their skilled employees from a situation of maybe not a heavy-duty mechanic, but at the end of the time with this retraining and the skills training, they can create heavy-duty mechanics out of just a common employee. Those things are things that businesses required, and it's there in the Economic Action Plan of 2013. You know, the other thing that I think people are looking for in Saskatchewan is a way to get your journeyman status quicker. And again, we've addressed that in the Economic Action Plan of 2013. We need more journeyman mechanics. We need more journeyman plumbers and electricians in Saskatchewan. I know in my situation, we're looking at remodeling a house to get a plumber, waiting 2, 3, 4 months just to get a plumber. Trying to get somebody to put in a furnace, 2 or 3 months. The skills shortage in Saskatchewan in the riding of Prince Albert was extreme. And this will hopefully help alleviate some of those concerns. When we look at going forward in what's in the budget itself, there's some things that I also want to point out that's unique in the riding of Prince Albert. One of the things is we have not a high Aboriginal youth population. We have Aboriginal youth that come in from the northern ridings, come into the city of Prince Albert looking for work. And those are the people that we actually need to capture and get into the skilled training program. So we set up funding to do that. And I think that's going to be something that we're going to see going forward. We're actually having more Aboriginal people in the economy, participating in the economy. And I know when you talk to the chiefs at James Smith, you talk to the chiefs at Muscoday, that is something that they want. They want to participate in the boom, the economic boom that's going on in Saskatchewan, and this will allow their band members to actually do that. And I think that's going to be great for Canada as a whole. Other things when we look in the budget is the new Building Canada plan. When I talked to my mayors and councillors and reeves, that's one thing that they wanted was some sort of bankable method of payment from the federal government. When you look at the $32.2 billion over 10 years for the Community Improvement Fund, that is a consistent fund. There's actually funds going to the municipalities that they can bank on. They can use it for a variety of different projects. If they want to use it for water or sewer like they may use up in Nipawin, if they want to use it for road construction in Kinistino, those are funds that they know are coming into their coffers year after year that are indexed. So they actually can be bankable and predictable, so they can budget around it and plan on it and use it according to what their needs are best. And the nice thing about this fund, it's fairly wide open on how they can utilize it. they can use it for a variety of projects. Like I said, if they want to use it for a water project, that's an option for them. If they want to use it to build a road or pave a street, those options are there for them. That's the nice thing about that fund, and I think you'll find that the mayors and Reeves, in fact, when I was talking to a couple of Reeves over the weekend, they're very excited because it's bankable and predictable. It's something that they ask for, and we actually give it to them. And then $14 billion for the new Building Canada Fund. You know, that's one thing that we have to recognize. Canada is an exporting nation. We need to keep building infrastructure. We need to be taking advantage of the resources we have. But in order to do that, we have to build infrastructure. We have to build roads. We have to put in infrastructure to get to the mines. We have to put in infrastructure to get to the product to market. These are things in the $14 billion fund that will be addressed, and I think Canadians recognize that as an important need, and that's something that will help our economy grow for the long time into the future. We have the $1.25 billion renewal of the Canada's P3 fund. I know the province of Saskatchewan is embracing that fund. I know other provinces have embraced it. Here's a practical way to get projects built in a way that you participate not only the private sector but the public sector, and the benefit is the taxpayer without a doubt. And of course, we have $6 billion under the current infrastructure programs for the provinces and territories and municipalities from 2014-2015. So, Mr. Speaker, when you look at the new Building Canada plan, that's over $53 billion over 10 years for infrastructure. That is a substantial amount of money, and that's probably the longest period of time that any money's been consistently given to the provinces and municipalities for infrastructure needs. It's never been done in the history of Canada for this length of period of time. You know, other thing that's important for the province of Saskatchewan, it's an agriculture province. It's a province that has gone from agriculture to mining. It has lots of resources, but it has great world-class research. Genome Prairies is a good example, and it's nice to see some core funding going to the genome projects of $165 million that will be spread across Canada. That type of research is urged. It's groundbreaking research that you're going to see benefits from years and years to come, and I'm happy to see that there. Of course, we're also supporting business innovation. They're helping businesses invest in innovative and making them more competitive and creating more high-paying jobs here in Canada. Those are the things that are in the budget that will provide long-term growth and prosperity, not just for us members sitting here, but for our kids and our grandkids. You know, we can't forget families. The family structure is such an important structure, and we've got to look at the different varieties of ways we can help families. One of the things I see in this budget that I think is really great and unique is supporting or enhancing tax relief for families that are adopting children or those using home care services. That's important. That's something that actually taxpayers and families can use. That is something that they can look at and say, here's a government that appreciates my needs and my requirements. And it's there in the budget. So I can't see how members would ever vote against something like that. Then, of course, being a hockey player, and I think a lot of us have had hockey kids, and you know, we've all had kids. If you're a parent, if you can get your baby clothes tariff-free, if you can get your hockey equipment cheaper, tariff-free, that again is supporting the family structure, and I think that's very positive to see. We have $1.9 billion over 5 years going for homelessness and housing. $1.9 billion, a substantial amount of dollars that are going into a unique, not unique, but something that's justly needed. You know, I wish I had a lot more time, Mr. Speaker, because I could go on for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, but I noticed you give me the 2-minute bell, so I'm going to just maybe speed up on some of the things that I also see happening here that I think is important to highlight. Honoring our veterans. You know, this last year I did the Nijmegen March. I went to Grosbeek, the cemetery there in Holland. You know, not a blade of grass was out of place. Every tombstone was correct. The respect the people from the Netherlands give to our soldiers was amazing. With the increase and doubling of the funeral service reimbursement, we can do that here in Canada for our veterans also. And I think that's very important. Taking it from $3,600 to $7,300 is something that our vets deserve. And it's nice to see that there in the budget. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I think one of the things that you can also highlight here, which coming from Saskatchewan is very important, is the fact we're going to get to a balanced budget. What other country in the world is going to talk about getting to a balanced budget after going through a global recession that we've gone through since 2008? In 2015-16, we're going to have a balanced budget. In Saskatchewan, we've had a balanced budget. The Premier's done a great job in making sure that he keeps spending under control and putting in the proper programs. And thank you, Mr. Baird, or Minister of Foreign Affairs. But actually, he is a good Premier because he's balanced his books. He's put a priority on where the money should be spent. And if you look at the growth in the province of Saskatchewan, here's a province that's growing so fast. And again, I'll repeat, the unemployment are 3.7%. And if we can do that here federally, just think of what we can do and what the response will be across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona. Speaker, and I listened with great attention to the member's speech. Thank you very much. The member, Mr. Speaker, spoke of the government's increase in the gas tax and indexing as requested by quite some time by the NDP, and we appreciate that. They finally listened to that as a request by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. But he also spoke about the priority being to be building the infrastructure for Canadian exports. I wonder if the member can speak to the years of waiting by more than 100 Aboriginal communities for access to safe drinking water. I'm wondering if he could speak to, in the budget, given the dollars allocated, how many more years and how many of those 100 First Nations will still have to wait for safe drinking water for their families?
Member for Prince Albert.
Well, I thank the member for his speech, and it's unfortunate that member would not vote for what was in the budget and actually providing the GST tax dollars to the municipalities, because if I look at the NDP record when it came to putting this in place, they actually voted against it. When it comes to Aboriginal communities and safe drinking water, I think we all agree that that needs to be improved upon. Unfortunately, I can't control what was done before me. I can't control what the Liberal government's done in the previous. I can't control it at all. But we are making strides to make it better. We're working with the Aboriginal communities. We're making it better and stronger. We recognize that there needs for improvement, and we're taking steps to address those needs.
Question et commentaire. Alors, la députée de Westmount, Ville-Marie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I noticed that my honourable colleague talked about the importance of infrastructure. I agree with him as well. In fact, it was Paul Martin who started to take some money from the excise tax on gasoline to devote towards infrastructure. So that was a good thing. But why is it that we're going to have to wait really for a couple of more years? If infrastructure is so pressing, why is the amount of money towards it so light for the next couple of years? It reminds me of when this government in 2011 in the last election promised that they were going to double the tax-free savings allowance from $5,000 to $10,000 once the budget was balanced sometime in the future. They also did the same thing with income splitting on families for income tax purposes. Once again, that was going to be after the budget was balanced. So if everything is so urgent, why is it that on infrastructure that the amount of money for the next 2 years is so little?
Well, member for Prince Albert.
Well, again, I thank the member for his question. Let's just review what we're doing in the new Building Canada plan. We've got $32.2 billion over 10 years for a community improvement fund, consisting of an indexed gas tax fund and incremental GST rebates for municipalities to build roads, public transit, recreation facilities, and other community infrastructure. We've got $14 billion in the new Building Canada fund. We've got $1.25 billion in the renewal of the P3 Canada Project Fund. You got $6 billion under current infrastructure programs for provinces and territories and municipalities in 2014 and 15. That is a substantial amount of money that's going towards building infrastructure. It's amazing, because this was not done in a lot of previous governments.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Huron-Bruce.
Always enjoy hearing the revisionist history provided by the NDP and the Liberal Party, which voted against the largest investment in infrastructure in the history of this country with the stimulus program we brought in a number of years ago. In Huron-Bruce, we've had a great success with infrastructure investments. What the municipalities are doing in my riding right now is they're planning for the future. They're talking to architects. They're talking to members of the community to come up with new ideas for what their priorities are. So I think this is actually really well timed. The question I'd ask the member from Saskatchewan is how the Canada Job Grant Program is going to work for him, going to work for his community and his riding, because I think that's really a program that's going to help keep their economy in high gear.
For Prince Albert.
Well, I thank the member for his excellent question, because it's very, very true. This is something that when you went across and did your pre-budget consultations, which all members of the Conservative government, I understand, did, and I did, of course, in myself, and talked to the business community, one thing they wanted and needed and required was more skilled workers. They asked for assistance in how to get an unskilled worker to becoming a skilled worker. This program is one way to do that. It is going to provide financial assistance for both the employee, the employer, to actually get them to that next level so they can get a higher paid, skilled job, a job that will take them right through to retirement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.